Hello again, boys. So in this video I will give you an explanation of Act 2 Scene 5. So what is Act 2 Scene 5? Actually, what is the significance of Act 2 Scene 5? It's again a subplot. Alright, it is giving dimension to the story, because now in this scene Shylock is seen telling Jessica that Jessica, you have to take care of the house while I'm away. But he says that I am going to Bassanio's house not with not with the self-interest. It's because these people are always flattering him, so that is why he says, I'll go and feed upon the prodigal Christian. So he uses this word in a very derogatory way, and calls Bassanio as a prodigal Christian. Now, prodigal Christian has a biblical allegory, which I'm going to explain to you in a while. Okay, so here in this particular scene, we also see the supernatural beliefs of the Elizabethan people here, where they discuss about supernatural elements taking place. Like they say that when they see something in the dream, something very something very bad is going to happen. So that is also going to be explained to you in this scene. And another thing is that here, with understanding this subplot, what you have to see is that this particular scene is giving a dimension to the story. Okay, had Shylock not gone to dine with Bassanio, had he not gone away, Jessica would have never got an opportunity to run away from the house. Okay, so in this particular scene now, Shylock is seen talking to Lancelot, and Lancelot here is made to understand by Shylock the difference he is going to see between Shylock's house and Bassanio's house, and also in the form of a person what Shylock is and what Bassanio is. Now that is why, now when the scene opens, he is talking to Lancelot but also knocking at the door and calling out to his daughter. That is why he is talking to Lancelot and also talking to Jessica. Like for instance here, this scene, now let's start the explanation. The scene takes place in front of Shylock's house, which is in a street in Venice, and he says, well, thou shalt see that I shall be thy judge. The difference of all Shylock and Bassanio. Now he says, now you're going to see the difference between Shylock and Bassanio. Then he says, what, Jessica? That means he's knocking at the door and saying, like, you, Jessica, thou shalt not gormandize. Now this line is not meant for Jessica. This is meant for Lancelot. He says, you're not going to overeat. Thou shalt not gormandize. That means you're not going to overeat. And thou hast done with me. Like you're not going to eat like you have done when you were with me. Then again he's knocking at the door and saying, what, Jessica? Calling out for Jessica, and says, and sleep and snore and rent after aloud. Now these lines are also not meant for Jessica. It's actually meant for Lancelot. And he says, like, and sleep. Do not sleep. Do not oversleep. Do not snore, and do not tear your clothes like you'd been doing like a fool in my place. Why, Jessica? I say again. He knocks at the door and says, like, come on, Jessica. Then Lancelot says, why, Jessica? Now he's a fool, isn't he? Now he's just trying to imitate Shylock and says, why, Jessica? Shylock says, who bids thee call? That means, who asked you to call Jessica? I didn't ask you to call. Then Lancelot says, your worship was wont to tell me I could do nothing without bidding. So here, he is, he is a fool, although he's a fool, but he's a wise fool. He has the wisdom of a very learned man, but his actions only defies his intelligence. So he's a fool, alright. So then Jessica enters and says, Jessica says, call you. What is your will? That means, did you call me? What do you want? Okay. Then Shylock says, I'm bid forth to supper, Jessica. There are my keys, but wherefore should I go? I am not bid for love. They flatter me. So this is the reason why he says he's going to go to Bassanio's house for supper. He says, I am not going it out of my will. I'm going there because they flatter me. Alright, they talk very highly about me. But yet, I will go in haste to feed upon the prodigal Christian. So there's a historic, biblical allegory of the story of a prodigal son that, goes away, squanders, takes the father, takes his share of property from his living father, and says, he goes around squandering money and he comes back penniless. So that's the story Okay, I think I will give you. I think I have also explained, given the explanations earlier. But anyway, I'll give you notes on this too. So the prodigal Christian here refers to Bassanio and says, Jessica, my girl, look to my house. Then he looks towards his daughter and says, you, my girl, please look to my house. I'm full loath to go. Full loath here means I go with hate, okay? There is some ill brewing towards my rest. Ill brewing means something that is not right, something that is, not correct, okay? Towards my rest, that means it is making me very anxious. There's something that is making me anxious, and that is because I had dreamt of money bags tonight, okay? So this is the supernatural elements that we were talking about. People, the Elizabethan people were very had very superstitious beliefs. So here he says that I feel very anxious. I feel like I shouldn't go because I had a very bad dream, and that was I had dreamt of money bags. And dreaming of money bags stated that something wrong would happen. So Lancelot says, I beseech you, sir, go, my young master doth expect your reproach. Here there's a malapropism again. Reproach, the word approach has been misused. So again we see another instance of his vocabulary, but how he misuses the word. Okay, so again, from here we can prove that he is a wise fool. So Shylock, so do I his. That means even I am waiting for his approach. I really want to meet him. Lancelot says, and they have conspired together. I will not say you shall see a mask. Now he is talking to Shylock, but also referring this in a very indirect way to Jessica, because he wants to give out a message to Jessica that Lorenzo is going to come and get you. Okay, but he cannot say this directly because Lorenzo has already told Lancelot to do it privately, isn't it? So he uses all his might to use all kinds of indirect method of telling Jessica that Lorenzo is going to come and get you. So this particular events in history, that is Black Monday and Ash Wednesday, because it is coming out from the mouth of a fool, that is Lancelot, is a dramatic irony, alright, because it's a very important incident in history, but is being spoken in a very lucid manner by a fool. So here what Black Monday actually is here we can see on Easter Monday, April 14th, that is 1360, when King Edward III, okay, his army was caught up in the black fog. Because of the black fog, they were defeated in a very important skirmish, that is in a very important fight, because they froze to death and they could not see anybody in front of them, alright, nothing was visible in front of them. So that is why they lost a very important battle. It is what this is what has been said about Black Monday. So because of which this particular event has been stated as Black Monday. So now this is a very serious event in history, but because it's coming out from the mouth of a fool, it's a dramatic irony. And then he says, look, what he says is, his nose started bleeding on Black Monday, which fell on an Ash Wednesday, which happens to be an Ash Wednesday. Can Monday and Wednesday, okay, fall on the same day? It cannot, isn't it? But he's a fool. He's saying just whatever he feels like, but here it shows his intelligence about, his knowledge about these important events in history. Now what is Ash Wednesday is? Ash Wednesday is actually basically the day from where the 45 days of Lent for the Christians before the celebration of Easter begins. So here he talks about Black Monday and Ash Wednesday falling on the same day, and that was the day when his nose started bleeding. And so he says, like, this happened, when did this happen? This happened, here he says, was 4 years in the afternoon. That means 4 years ago, it was 4 years ago in the afternoon. So here actually he's making fun of Shylock. in a dramatic, ironical speech. Now Shylock is saying, what are these masks that you're talking about? Hey you, me Jessica, lock up your doors. And when you hear the drum and the wild squealing of the Rhine-necked fife, Rhine-necked fife is that twisted trumpet, okay? So he says, like, whenever you make sure that you bolt all the doors and close all the windows, and make sure not to listen to any of the music that is coming from the street. Let not all these sound come into my house. And he says, clamber not you up to the casement. Clamber means do not climb. Casement is an archaic word for window. Archaic means an old-fashioned word, okay? So it says, do not climb up to the windows and do not thrust your head. That means do not put your head out and into the public street. And do not gaze at the Christian. Do not look at the Christian fools with varnished faces, because their faces are painted. But stop my house's ears. Like here, he talks about the house as if a house being a human being. So he says, close my house's ears, which means to say close all the windows of my house. I mean my casements. Let not the sound of shallow floppery. He calls the celebration a shallow floppery, which means to say that it is a foolish display. It is not something which should be taken seriously. Then he says, my sober house by Jacob's staff I swear. I have no mind of feasting for tonight. He says, like, I do not want to go. Now, look at the way he is leaving, okay? He is leaving in a very reluctant way. He does not want to go, but still he has to go. But I will go. Go before me, sire. Say, I will come. Lancelot says, okay. Then he says, okay, tell you, Lancelot, you go ahead and tell your masters that I am coming. Lancelot says, I will go before Sir Mistress. Look out at the window. Now, he is telling just exactly opposite of what Shylock had already told Jessica. Says, you should look out of the window. For all this there will come a Christian by, will be worth a Jewess's eye. So here he tells, he tells in the form of a verse. He tells Jessica, you have to look out. There's going to be a Christian who's going to come by and it's going to be worth your eye. And Shylock says, what says that fool of Haggard's offspring? Now he also speaks in a very derogatory manner and calls Shylock a Haggard's offspring. Haggard's offspring is actually an outcast, okay? Outcast. That means Hagar was the maid of Sarah. Sarah was the wife of Abraham, and Hagar was going to have the baby of Abraham, and because of which Hagar was sent out of the village. Yeah, she was made to live in a jungle, and where she gave birth to Hagar, and from then onwards, Hagar has been used in a very derogatory manner to mean an outcast. So that is why Shylock calls Lancelot as a Hagar. He says like Hagar's offspring, okay? So Hagar's offspring. Offspring means child. Then says, his words were farewell, mistress, nothing else. Then Jessica comes and Jessica tells, no, father, it's nothing. He was just telling me goodbye, nothing else. Shylock says, that Patch is kind enough, but a huge feeder. Here, that fellow, Patch means that fool, that person, this man is kind, but a huge feeder. He does nothing. He's a terrible eater. This person that you're talking about, Lancelot, is a huge feeder. Snail slow in profit. He's useless and he sleeps all day. More than the wildcat, drones hide not with me. Drone is the male bee. Okay, it is said that the male bee is the less industrious bee in the whole hive, because the drones, the males, are useless. They do not do any work. So that is why even the wildcat keeps on sleeping and does not do any work. So that is why he calls him a wildcat and a drone. Okay, the male bee who does nothing and is not very productive, and I do not want to have him in my house. Therefore, I part with him. That means I will just say goodbye to him and part with him. And the one that would have him help to waste his borrowed purse. Now I'm going to part with him, and I'm going to make sure that he parts and goes to a man whom he is going to help waste his money. That is Bassanio. Waste his borrowed purse. Now Bassanio is always borrowing money, isn't it? So here he says, let him go and waste Bassanio's money. Well, Jessica, go in. Now he tells, you go inside. Perhaps I will return immediately, but as I bid you, shut doors after you. Fast find, a proverb never stale in thrifty mind. So he leaves away with a proverb saying that fast find. That means it's always best to be careful about your own belongings, and you don't have to go on complaining that it is because of this person or that person that I lost this. So it is always best to be very, you can say that you should be taking care of your things yourself. Jessica says now, farewell, and if my fortune be not crossed, I have a father, you a daughter lost. So here, she has already made up her mind to run away with Lorenzo. So here, what does this scene reveal about the character of Jessica is that although she is in her naive childishness, she is an ungrateful daughter, okay? Because she runs away from Shylock's house, also stealing the money from Shylock's house, and also betraying Shylock to the utmost, because she runs away with a Christian, marries a Christian. And this particular scene, although she is very quick-witted, she's she's beautiful, she's intelligent, but here her feelings towards her father, okay, she has very strong feelings towards her father, but ultimately goes on and betrays. And what is this scene? Why is this scene important? Is because it's a continuation of Jessica's episode that we saw earlier. Okay, Lancelot is on his way to deliver the message, and Lorenzo and Jessica that he understands the arrangements, and also leads the scene, also helps to fill up the interval between the signature of the bond and its forfeiture. So this is a subplot, and it's finally giving shape to the story. Okay, thank you so much for listening, and in the next episode I will see you with Act 2, Scene 6. Thank you.